All right, guys. Thank everybody for tuning in to the Law Nation and Project Shank connection here. We collaborating on this important day of news and all the other genres that's out there. Project Shank, you can go ahead and you have the floor.
All right. Hey, guys, what's up? This is Derek from Project Shanks, also of the soon to come out Dallas Prospect. It's something we're going to be working on, a website covering pretty much a focus on Dallas sports. Also have a little blend of pop culture and things like that in there. But definitely wanted to give a nice platform to talk Cowboys, Mavericks, and all that with you and other experts like yourself in the area.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. So tell me about the Ezekiel Elliott news while I try to pull up everything. What's going on with that? I didn't get a chance to hear it all.
Yeah, so it came down a short time ago. The NFL is going to uphold it's going to deny his appeal, basically upholding the 6-game suspension. But in the process, basically the judge in the case has until the end of Friday to issue a ruling to allow him to file the injunction, which would then proceed to try and take it to court, like we saw with Tom Brady and Deflategate. So in the meantime, surprisingly, the NFL has basically given Zeke permission to play week 1 in spite of everything, even though technically the judge's decision could come Friday before the game still. So it's interesting in that regard. It kind of plays off something you had mentioned earlier before we went live, kind of just the ratings factor of it having this perennial matchup. You know, there's questions whether Odell Beckham is going to be healthy enough to play yet. So to also not have Zeke, I think, would definitely look bad with regard to its appeal for the game.
Yeah, it's just crazy. I think it's still a witch hunt. I think the NFL is so fickle in a sense that they would never just say, hey, we kind of bit off too much than we can chew on this aspect of it, and we just going to be able to make a statement saying that Ezekiel Elliott is on watch for this time frame and just move it along, because it's just going to make everybody look bad, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Nobody looks good in this situation. Zeke, with everything, his team during the appeal, their defense and everything, you saw these transcripts and everything from the NFL's report, and you saw kind of all the dirty laundry of it. And so Zeke's character takes a little bit of a hit. Personally, I don't care about the vast majority of the stuff they brought up in those reports. It's kind of like to each his own. If he's not harming, obviously if it's something involving the physical harm, like if it's something that they can validate and prove, that's one thing. But the stuff about like, oh, he likes to drink and he likes rough sex, like, okay, sorry, I don't really care. That has nothing to do with the situation. That's just them looking, I think, for stuff that can kind of affect the public's view of him further. So Zeke doesn't look any better in that situation in a kind of a broad sense. The NFL, I think they're trying to crack down on domestic violence. I just think they've chosen the wrong case here where they can't really prove it. But because it's a high profile thing, they're trying to make an example. And instead, what they've shown is that they're kind of rigging the process against Zeke in this case, where he's not getting a fair appeal in it. And so I think the NFL comes out looking bad too.
Yeah, it just looked like just an ugly situation. And then when you look at other players across the board, and I'm just going to jump over to Miami's Jarvis Landry's of the world, his domestic violence case, and nobody never really pulling that up. So the NFL needs to stop with all this witch hunt collectively. It's just one of those things that just doesn't look good. But in a whole grand scheme of things, guys, we would like to hear you guys' opinion too as well. The number's up top, 515-739-1448. Code is 739202. We love to hear your guys' feedback, your passion, your emotions too as well. And we're going to dive deep into this first game coming around this Sunday, Sunday night football. We're going to see what's going on, what we need to look for, and things that we need to have reservations on, and what Eli Manning can do with what was that, Odell Beckham and of the world, and the other guy that they had through transitions. What is the guy? Brandon Marshall, right?
Yeah, he's
Is Odell
battling
going to
a
play?
shoulder injury.
Mhm.
So far, they haven't ruled on Odell yet.
Mhm.
He is facing an ankle injury from the past couple weeks. He hasn't practiced, and I think they said almost 11 days. So I don't know if he's going to play yet. It sounds like he's going to be a game time decision, like literally not even trying to really run or cut until pretty much before the game.
Oh wow! So that well, we're gonna see sooner or later. Got a caller in. Let me just give me a few seconds. Let me get to this call right here from the 405. How long you been following the channel, and what is on your mind?
Yeah, what's up, man? I've been following you way back when you first started up.
All right, and what's going on, man? I appreciate you. Salute to you following the channel. Hey, and just keep in mind too as well, the guy that I have on the other end, he made the logo for me, so he got everything going in the right direction as far as that.
Yeah, I want to give it. Yeah, everything about the channel is good, but I'm kind of want to stay on topic here. It's all about Zeke right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little mad because
muted.
For one, everything was going good. We came out the last season. Everybody knew what we was going to do this season.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think that NFL kind of got this wrong because I just want to know, from anyone that's in here, how is it that he can only play against the Giants? Why is that?
Well, I was talking to Derek off air. We was talking about ratings, and NFL first game, it's a big draw, and we all know that the Dallas Cowboys have one of the I'm talking about. They carried the network last year when the ratings spiked or dip or what have you, and this is all a ploy to get the ratings, because more times out of nine times out of 10, they're going to talk about the domestic violence. They're going to talk about the other issues that transpired. Hello? Must have lost him off the line. Hello? Derek, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I actually can't hear the callers on that. It's really muted on my end. So if they're asking me a question, you might have to serve as mediator on that. But
okay, all right. Well, he was asking pretty much so about the why the Ezekiel Elliott is not able to quote unquote why he's going to be able to play this weekend but not able to play the following weekends. And I was just lamenting the fact that it's because of the ratings that they're not going to just have the star running back from last year not playing. So that's the smartest choice of the NFL to have him still out there, basically.
Yeah, it looks like, let's see, Ian Rappaport was saying, basically in summary on the situation of that issue, them letting him play, says he plays Sunday, could get a restraining order to stay on the field this season. But if not, he would be sitting out weeks 2 through 7. So it is a weird thing. It does kind of lend to that theory that it could just be a ratings thing. Because if the NFL is trying to get its way in any other context, it doesn't make sense to allow him to play Sunday.
No doubt. So we'll pick up this other call later, but that's the 661 is calling in right now. But I just want to get into the aspect of without Zeke, if this thing doesn't play out for the next 6 games, for the next following 6 weeks or 6 games collectively.
Yeah, it would be.
What do you think the NFL going to do about that?
What do I think? If he like wins in the court case, you're saying, like if he gets the injunction filed and is allowed to basically push off the suspension the way Tom Brady was for about a year.
If you get the injunction filed, and then where they're going to have the hearing at? That's basically what I'm trying to say, basically.
I gotcha. So there's been a lot of behind the scenes kind of jockeying where you have the NFL Player Association and Zeke's people trying to basically race the paperwork through the system. And the NFL is doing the same thing on their end. The NFL wants this to be heard in New York, kind of their home turf and everything. Meanwhile, as we saw, the initial paperwork was filed in, I believe, Sherman, Texas. So they're trying to push for it here, just trying to get kind of that home field advantage of that leverage on that. I don't know that that's like what's going to decide anything by any means, but I do think there's a lot more going on behind the scenes than really can even be followed and reported on, just because you have so many steps of the legal process that both teams are trying to basically race each other to the end of to get home field. But yeah. I would say if Zeke can win it, which everything I'm hearing suggests he's not going to avoid at least suspension in some capacity. The question is if it's something that he has to serve during the middle of this year, or if it's something, like I said before, Tom Brady, that he can kind of push down the road to next season.
Yeah, so I prefer, for him to just, I don't know, it's just one of those things. Whereas if he continue to try to fight this thing, and then down the line we get different from Tom Brady when it happens during, like, well, let's say for instance, like during the playoff time, then we are not looking at the same outcome. But hold on, I got 856. How long you been following the channel?
Hello?
What's going on? Yeah, you live on the Nation. I guess they hung up. A little shyness going on with that. But outside of that, Derek, look, my thing is here, this team is still going to be formidable enough to still score. I really think that number 4, Dak Prescott, is going to be one of those guys that can still be a technician of the field and get the ball out. I did hear the remarks from, was it Ben McAdoo? I think that's their coach.
Talking about the offensive line. Well, more so, I think I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but I think his quote was saying basically all running backs run the same when there's nowhere to run.
Yeah. Now that's a big, I'm talking about a big statement that's going to be echoed throughout the Cowboys locker room, because this offensive line can push. And one guy that I know for sure that I just can't wait to see this coming the weekend is the number 71 kid, La'el Collins. Look, I got 512 on the line. How long you been following the channel and what's going on?
Hello?
Yes, you live on the Nation. What's going on?
La'el Collins. Look, I got 512 on the line.
Yeah, you got to turn your radio down. Turn your radio down.
Hello?
Actually, I've been following the channel for quite some time now, and we actually talked last week.
Now, who is this again? Is this Jay?
Actually, I've been following the.
Yeah, you got to turn your YouTube down. He's a good guy, man. He's a passionate guy.
My name is Jay Deuce.
Jay Deuce, yes. What's going on? So what do you feel about this whole situation?
Okay, how's that?
Yeah, you sound loud and clear. Jay, you sound good. So what's going on? I'm going to have to hang up on you, Jay.
The way I feel about the situation is that the NFLPA may well be trying to represent Zeke, but it's still not the same as Zeke representing himself.
Oh, okay. So, Derek, what he said is he feel like the NFLPA is trying to represent Zeke, but it's not Zeke who's representing himself that needs to be what's going on, basically.
And I still feel that a bench trial on his behalf would still have him winning.
A federal bench trial need to be on his behalf. Yeah, I'm gonna have to let you go, but yeah, Jay, that sounds like exactly what needs to happen and transpire. And hey, Derek.
Yeah.
He was saying that basically that the federal bench trial. Are you familiar with that process there?
I'm not familiar with the inner workings of that. No.
Well, basically what the federal bench trial is he called in last week. Pretty much so it's just give the actual what will happen is give the information and the evidence to the federal judge, and then from there the federal judge will make his ruling based on key witness statements, and it just kind of like overseeing or overlooking the process that the NFL is doing. Now, although the NFL can hide behind Article 46, it still can be an avenue where Zeke can say, hey, this is lost wages, it's lost compensation as far as my money, remunerations, and this is also the fact that it's a slander and defamation of character of labeling me as a domestic violence. When we have witness testimony stretching far as last year, and this process has been going on for so long.
Yeah, I agree. Zeke stands to lose out on about a little less than 1.5 million over the course of the 6 games. About 240,000 for each game missed, I think.
Oh wow, that is a lot of money.
Yeah, so he stands a lot to lose in this. If that paperwork is filed as listing basically not the defendant, but as the NFL Player Association as opposed to Zeke, then yeah, I would agree. It needs, I think, to have a better case for him. I think it would make more sense to have it filed on his behalf.
No doubt, man. That's good information there. But hold on, let me get the 661. Have 661 on the line.
About 240,000.
See what's going on. Turn your YouTube down.
Well,
wow.
Yes. You got your radio still on.
He stands a lot to lose in this.
Well, look here, guys. When you call in, you can't have your background, your radio on, and all that. You got to turn it off so we can understand and hear what you guys are saying. So pretty much this whole scenario with Zeke, I know it's a hot topic. I know a lot of people feel like they want to be able to say he's this and that. But this team still, I said, from the offensive line all the way down to the quarterback and the wide receivers, they can still average 31 to maybe and beyond that, for points a game. What are you feeling, Project Shanks, on that? As far as averaging points and just driving the ball down the field. What are your thoughts?
The offense in the preseason didn't look to have missed a beat, even without Zeke, its most lethal playmaker, most versatile playmaker on the field. Other than a couple fumbles, I believe, by Darren McFadden that were ill-timed. Beyond that, they moved the ball very well. Dak showed great accuracy, great poise. Looks like he has not missed a beat from the end of last season. You can only hope that he's continued his evolution in that regard and that he's not going to have any kind of backwards regression or slump or anything. I don't think, and I know you don't think, that that'll be the case, but I fully expect the Cowboys offense to average about 30 to 31 a game this year. And I think maybe in the first 6 weeks without Zeke, that number might be more like the 27, 28 range, just because you do lose the home run ball. Plays like the swing pass at Pittsburgh last year, Zeke takes it 80 or 85 yards to the house. You don't have the guy that can take it to the house, but you do have guys that can still eat up a chunk of yardage that at least gets it momentum and gets a drive moving. So I think they'll be all right for the most part, but it will probably show in those little areas like that.
So it's probably like 2 to 3 points differential on that. Yeah, I can see that being possible. Another thing that I really wanted the Cowboys to do is I didn't understand the reason why would you put Rico Gathers on IR. That was just kind of like the weirdest thing I ever saw.
Right, he's still in concussion protocol. I don't know. I know that he had a head-to-head collision when going down in practice. He caught a pass and was going to the ground and had a helmet-to-helmet collision, and he has been ever since then in concussion protocol. So I don't know if it's that they're being a little overcautious or if he's just having one of those higher end in terms of severity concussions that stretches out and really kind of hampers them for some time. If that's the case, I actually think it's a good move because the IR list they put him on is the IR list set to return. So after 6 to 8 weeks, I think it's 8, he is eligible to return for the season. So it allows them to make sure that they don't have to cut him to let him hopefully slip back through waivers and then try and put him back on practice squad. They can lock him down now, not worry about him, and still have that roster spot open where they're not feeling the burden of having to carry 4 tight ends the whole season. So I actually think that's a good move if his health really was that much of a concern.
Okay, I have to agree with that. But it's just kind of weird how that all came into to the midst of him going on IR when he looks like he's a physical big guy. He looks like he was walking around fine, but maybe there's something things, the intangibles that we just can't see. And I just didn't like the other move too as well. The Kellen Moore, putting him back on the team. It just seems like the coach's son crying that he didn't make the team. So the coach's son going to the boss and saying, "Hey, I make the biggest donations this year. You put my son on his team." That's what it seems like to me. What is your opinions on that?
Well, even when they initially cut Kellen Moore, I had a feeling something like this might be in the works, just because I know how high they are on him and his general football IQ. I pretty much had a feeling that there was going to be some kind of shakeup, in what ended up happening, as we alluded to before. Rico Gathers going on the IR set to return list. I don't know the designation name difference off the top of my head, but the designated to return IR list, that opens up a roster spot, and they had alluded before cutting Kellen Moore that they were prepared to carry 3 quarterbacks. So I have a feeling that not only are they putting him back on the team, which they've already done, but I think that they are going to still stubbornly stick with him at the number 2 spot, at least for the time being. Which, from a performance standpoint, I get why everyone's pushing for Cooper. I actually think Cooper Rush is a far better talent, even now, even without the high football IQ. But you have to consider it from the standpoint of Cooper Rush, undrafted free agent, has 5 weeks now total under his belt in terms of being in an NFL camp. I can understand the standpoint of, even if Kellen Moore's job is to do nothing but provide some kind of mentorship to him, and to a lesser degree Dak, in terms of just understanding the ins and outs of the playbook and the offensive system, then I see the value in it, although I would rather have Cooper as my backup, I think.
Right, because you're talking about, 3 games of experience that Kellen Moore got under his belt, so it's not that much far and part of this okay, Kellen Moore is not like this veteran guy that you sit back and say, okay, at least he had 13 or 14 games. In my opinion, I would have just picked up Luke McCown and said, okay, this guy has over 10 years of experience. But the only thing that I can't see is that maybe Kellen Moore is maybe a game manager who can put everybody in the right, right category, right section. And shout out to how about the Cowboys for making that donation too as well for the nation. Thank you for that. But go ahead, Derek. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, I definitely think that the case with not keeping McCown had to do with, he didn't have a whole lot of time in camp. He was brought in the middle of camp, and he had some kind of issue, some kind of minor injury. I think it was something with his shoulder. It was something I only saw in passing, but I noticed we didn't see him for a couple games there. So I think it was more a matter of, he wasn't, between his age and the surprise of Cooper Rush, I think that they kind of realized they could only tangibly keep 3, and it made more sense to them to hang on to Kellen Moore and obviously Cooper Rush. We said this, Cooper Rush, if he had gone on waivers, there's no way he would have made it to our practice squad. They had to keep him if they were going to have him. Like, they had to put him on the actual roster. And that's how it panned out. And Kellen Moore, they just like him better than McCown. He's groomed in the system. So I think that's why they made that decision.
Oh, that's good insight there. I didn't know that aspect of it. People in the chat box, Jalen Smith, not Jalen Smith, that's his name. He said, what about Jay Elliott? I looked at his film last night. I did it probably collectively over, I'll say 9 hours of looking at his film altogether. This guy, Derek, is explosive. He can get off the edge. He has a natural bend to him. You can put him in a category now as a Demontre Moore or Benson Mayowa. Kind of like got like the same type of get off the line type of feel. He's small in a sense. If he's going to play defensive end, So, because the Green Bay Packers play like a 3-4, so normally their outside linebacker is the actual defensive end. So, but under Rod Marinelli's system, I think that he can get off the rush, and that's all you want him to do is just get to the quarterback or chase the ball and get upfield. So I think that with the Zeke Elliott signing, and I looked over a lot of Green Bay's Twitters and fans, and looked on their page, they really didn't want to let him go, but they only let him go because he had issues through this training camp, and also issues with his back. And I think that they wanted to sign Ahmad Brooks. I believe that's who they signed, and they thought that it would just been better for him to just move on to another team.
That, or maybe they were trying to think of if they could maybe sneak him through the waivers and put him on the practice squad. But yeah, looking at the footage you posted earlier, it looks like he was really balling out in preseason before his back and all of that kind of slowed him down. They said at one point he had 5 sacks in 3 games. That's really impact there, a significant impact for an undrafted kid out of I think they said Temple. So.
He's from
Iowa State.
Okay. Toledo, Ohio, Toledo, wherever Toledo is located at. I'm not that good in geography.
I think it's Ohio.
Ohio.
I think it's Ohio.
Toledo, Ohio. Don't judge me, right?
Yeah.
But the other thing that I saw when I was looking back at his film, he's good against run too as well. He crashes up the field. He's one of those guys that don't give up, so he got a great motor. I think that with the right rotational piece, and maybe if he can gain maybe 5 to maybe 10 pounds, give or take, I think he will last a little bit longer in this particular Rod Marinelli system. So that's what I'm looking at when you're talking about Zeke Elliott. Now I didn't get a chance to look at the other guy that we got. I heard he's like 330 pounds, though. A big plug to put right in the middle.
Yeah. Man, what was his name?
In the comment box, you guys put his name in. I know you guys can know his name.
Yeah, he's a defensive tackle, I believe. Yeah.
Man, he's massive. So I can only imagine you kick him to the side of number 96, Malik Collins. And you got Taco on the edge there, and you rotate. Well, of course you're gonna have Lawrence starting. Brian Price is that's what they say for 100. Price.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So I think I was kind of hard on the actual. We can talk defense now. I was kind of hard on our secondary, but what I'm thinking is that they come up with a different type of an approach. I think they're going to try to create pressure up the middle opposed to the edges, because we just don't have those guys naturally can just give you can plug in 15 to maybe 16 sacks. You just don't have that on the team. So what I'm thinking,
the infamous War Daddy.
Right. We don't have that this year. So hopefully Taco can develop into that. But what I'm thinking that Rod Marinelli's wanted to do is just create pressure up the middle and have the quarterback to skate out to the outside. And now you have these long, rangy Taco Charltons of the world, and the Zeke Elliott and Tapper. And then when Urban gets back from injury, that these guys can just reach out their long arms and everybody fly to the ball. And maybe they'll do it that way and on that approach,
Yeah, what they do lack, as you mentioned, is guys on the outside with that bend to really get around the corner. They got a decent amount of power out there, in like Irving's case. But I agree. I think that their strategy at this point is just to try and kind of clog the middle and try and collapse the center of the pocket. Both of us are really high this season on Malik Collins. Sounds like he's been probably, as far as that defensive line is concerned, the most consistent and impressive and throughout training camp this season.
And then how did you feel about, I don't know if you wrote a report on this, but the Thornton, us eating the money, was he that bad off, or?
I don't think, he was a big free agent acquisition for us in 2016. He's a 4-year, $17 million deal, I believe, with, I want to say $9 million guaranteed. He was intended and expected to be more than he was for us. I don't think he ever really made the impact, and even in the weeks leading up to his release, I had actually heard David Moore, for instance, from I believe Dallas Morning News, talking about how he was kind of headed in that direction where he had to really show something or else he was going to be at risk. And I think what it basically boiled down to is he fell a little bit back in the rotation, and for the money and all of that, they basically looked at the guy from Green Bay that we mentioned earlier and said, okay, we can get this, and this guy comes in a lot cheaper and can probably make a bigger impact for us. So I don't think it's a concern for them losing him. I know he didn't live up to the expectations and everything they had when they signed him. So I think
I lost you just for a second. Now, what happened now? Testing 1, 2, 3. Mic check. Might have lost you. But Derek, if you can call back in, well, hit the link back in and I can finish talking about that. The thing that I also need to take a look at too as well is the actual Tyron Crawford. He may be next on the line to go. It's one of those things that it could be a problem in a scenario where if he doesn't step it up in the following years, then this following year, then he could be the next man out the door. And I do know